The second area that the Hoosier Environmental Council focuses on is what I would call sprawl-reducing transportation. Why do we do it? From an environmental perspective, we have significant sprawl in Indiana. In Hamilton County and in Allen County up in northeast Indiana, we have some of the highest rates of sprawl in the entire country. The middle picture here shows the fact that we have a very dense highway and road network in our state. And I understand that that is a great economic asset for our state, but there's a point at which it'd be better to reallocate more of that money to repairing our existing roads and bridges than building more and more. The third image on the slide symbolizes the fact that while we have done a wonderful job expanding our forest system in Indiana over the last several years, we still have the smallest percentage of publicly owned open space in the entire Midwest. Now, there's an economic case to focus on sprawl-reducing transportation. On the top left there, you see a picture of tremendous mixed-use development and community revitalization in Virginia as a result of the thoughtful laying out of public transit lines there. On the bottom right, you see an image of a degrading bridge that exists unfortunately all across our country, a very tough diagnosis by civil engineers that we have to massively undertake a repair of existing roads and bridges rather than building new ones. I think this other image symbolizes other benefits of focusing on sprawl-reducing transportation, that you're providing an attractive magnet for young professionals who see a robust public transit system as a compelling way, all else equal, between communities about where they would want to live and work. On the bottom right, you see an image of your working family that may find it difficult to travel from one place to the other because of rising gas prices, for which public transit would help them out. So in terms of our efforts, in terms of our successes in sprawl-reducing transportation, we have brought needed scrutiny to the I-69 project, which now is over $3 billion in taxpayer money. We have gotten the Indianapolis Star and a number of newspapers to voice concerns about what we see as the infrastructure crisis facing Indiana. And along with a number of other groups, we have helped to save public transit from some significant budget cuts that happened in the last budget session in the legislature. Now, I want to focus on two pieces of our initiative to move forward this conversation on transportation. One is on public transit, a topic that you may well be following on. The Indiana State Transportation Agency, INDOT, only spends about 3% of their money on transit, which is quite different from a number of comparable states. And the problem is that the funding base for transit has been fairly constant for several years in real dollars, and yet there are more and more transit agencies in Indiana that have sprouted up on that basically fixed tax base. In addition, transit does not get any public monies from the gas tax. And at the local level, we are all well aware of the property tax caps, which put a great strain on public transit because property tax is actually the biggest source of the pie for financing public transit. Now, we are part of a number of different organizations that are aiming to advance public transit infrastructure in central Indiana, doubling the amount of buses, bringing on commuter rail, bringing on light rail to our region. And the wonderful thing about this effort is the breadth of support behind it. The Indianapolis Chamber of Commerce, the Indiana Chamber of Commerce, Governor's Office, Republicans and Democrats, all backing this proposal. It will take time for it to succeed in the legislature, but we're very encouraged by the breadth of support. And we're also encouraged about the economic underpinning of the plan, which is that it was pioneered and written by economists who computed that this particular plan has the highest net benefit of a variety of different scenarios. This is where we have common ground with a number of different stakeholders. But where we are a little bit in the minority, and unfortunately we're in the minority on this, is thinking about the bigger picture about how we finance transportation in Indiana overall. This piece of the pie shows how disproportionate our sources of funding transportation is in Indiana. The vast majority of our monies goes into highways and roads. Now, of course, for an organization like ours, predictably, we focus a lot of our energy. We are concerned about the repercussions of building new transportation in terms of protecting our precious natural resources. The controversial New Terrain I-69 project would destroy about 7,000 acres of forest, wetlands, and prime farmland. In addition, there's been some recent disclosures from INDOT which shows that about another 6,000 acres of farmland would be flooded due to that construction. But the interest in New Terrain I-69 is not just because of its significant environmental footprint, it's also because of the opportunity cost. The fact of the matter is the New Terrain I-69 project will cost about $3.2 billion, and only $700 million of that will be financed through the Major Moves project. So the vast bulk of the New Terrain I-69 project will have to be financed through what's called traditional funding. Federal monies that get earmarked to INDOT for highway construction, and then state transportation dollars. And that comes at the price of repairing our existing roads and bridges, for which we have more than $5 billion of an infrastructure backlog in the state of Indiana. And this is an example of the type of bridge in a 9-span bridge in Hammond, Indiana, that's getting indefinitely delayed from getting very, very needed improvements because of the enormous amount of money that is going to build a New Terrain I-69 project. About 30% of INDOT's transportation dollars will be spent on New Terrain I-69 alone in 2013. And that, of course, is an image of that New Terrain I-69 project. So we're very interested in making sure that the public is aware that this is a project of enormous scale, $3 billion, and that it comes at a significant opportunity cost, and that we are making a responsible decision about the most efficient use of taxpayer dollars when we are thinking through this project.